This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Review. What I'm looking at today is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. And you might be asking yourself, Brian, didn't The Amazing Spider-Man 2 come out in 2014? It's now 2020. And I'd go, yes. But as anyone who watches this channel knows, I don't see Sony Spider-Man movies in theaters. No way, no how. Combined with the fact that this movie has been so universally panned, I assume that it is not something I would want to see. But the thing is, you can't always judge on how the mass of people feel about something. For instance, a lot of people shat all over Star Trek Discovery, which I just went with. I assumed that all those people couldn't be wrong. And to be totally honest, that's not really fair. And having seen the first 2 seasons of Star Trek Discovery, I have to say I enjoyed it. The first season I didn't think was very much Star Trek. The second season I thought was a marked improvement. But just the idea that you can't always listen to what the mass of people say, because sometimes they have no idea of what they're talking about, or they have some sort of agenda they're trying to make happen. Now, having seen The Amazing Spider-Man 2, what I have to say is, all those people are right. This is a terrible Spider-Man movie. And it doesn't even get the benefit of, let's say, being like a Zack Snyder movie. Let's use Man of Steel as an example. As I've said before, I think Man of Steel is a terrible Superman movie. Absolutely awful. But it is a good alien invasion movie. Terrible Superman movie? Good alien invasion movie. So The Amazing Spider-Man 2 doesn't even have the benefit of that. It's a terrible Spider-Man movie, but it's also not a very good superhero movie either. Let's look at a few reasons why it's a terrible Spider-Man movie. Andrew Garfield, I hate to say, is too charming for the role. That sounds a little weird, but let me explain. He has a certain charisma about him, and it's not at all fitting for Spider-Man. Well, I should say it's not fitting for Peter Parker. Peter Parker tends to be a bit on the awkward side, a bit of, I wouldn't say a sad sack, but as a character, things don't quite work for him. And that's a very human quality, and it's what makes Spider-Man so relatable. It's that things don't always go well for him. Try as he might, his life is not perfect, and it has never been perfect. And when it is perfect, it's not Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker is as close to perfect as you're going to get. He's charismatic. He has the beautiful girl. He's doing well in school. There's like no drama here. Not really. No, that's not fair. There is drama, but the drama is forced and overdone. The drama of a Spider-Man movie should primarily come from him trying to relate to the rest of the world. He shouldn't have it easy. He shouldn't have it good. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is just perfect for the most part. As I said, he's charismatic, he's handsome, he has the gorgeous girlfriend. I mean, who is this person? Spider-Man's origin is fine. You don't need to change it. Conversely, if you're Zack Snyder, you don't need to reference the origin of the character. Look at Batman v Superman. This is one of the strengths of the Marvel Studios produced Spider-Man movies, Spider-Man Homecoming and Spider-Man Far From Home. It's the idea that they are confident enough that you know Spider-Man's origin by now, that they don't repeat it. They take it as a given, and that so makes sense. That's what should have happened here. But instead, we get this spy drama about Peter Parker's dad, an Oscorp, and a train that rises from the floor of an abandoned subway station. It's the dumbest shit. It doesn't make any sense within the canon of Spider-Man, and It doesn't even make common sense. Why are you doing this? Why do you have to turn this into a James Bond saga? If this had not been Spider-Man, it might have been half interesting. The fact that it was Spider-Man makes it a mess. All the blame for this lies with Roberto Ocri, or Ocri, or however you pronounce his name, and Alex Kurtzman. I think Jeff Pinkner also wrote this, but I know more of those two than Pinkner, so I'm quite comfortable with laying the blame at their feet. Although you notice the person I didn't blame is Mark Webb. From what I've read, he was in over his head in the sense that there were people with more power than him, despite him being the director who should be the final say. There were people involved with the Amazing Spider-Man 2 who had more influence than he did. So, despite being the director, he was just along for the ride. Though, Webb is not exactly blameless. If you recall, the movie has these little music video-like interludes, as if they were just out of, what was it, 500 Days of Summer, or whatever the name of that movie was that he directed, which is a good movie, by the way. Those musical interludes, those music video moments, come right out of that movie. And it's just odd, and they don't fit, and they shouldn't be in this movie. And Hans Zimmer's score, he gets a lot of love from the internet, for the most part. But my God, his score for this movie is not good, because it's manipulative. Now keep in mind, music in a movie is typically done to influence feeling, to make you think this, feel that. That's what music in movies is designed to do. But the problem with Zimmer's score for The Amazing Spider-Man 2, it's that it's blatantly obvious that's what it's doing. I don't typically like being manipulated when I watch movies. So when I see the music reflect one thing that's not being seen on screen, that bothers me, because it's the filmmakers trying to make me feel something that they're not presenting to me. It's like you have this dramatic score when there's nothing actually on screen that warrants having a dramatic score. That's manipulation, and they want you to feel something that they're not showing you. Movies are a visual medium. If you're not going to put it on screen, I don't want to hear it on the soundtrack. Why is that? Because it's not there. You're manipulating people. For instance, if you're going to have creepy music, there should be something on screen that creepy music helps clarify, that is enhanced by what we see on screen. If what we hear does not represent what we see, one of those has to go. And being that we're talking about, once again, a visual medium, it's more likely going to be the music. And Hans Zimmer has so many moments of this in this movie. It's so irritating. Another thing, and there's so many, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is profoundly cynical. And Electro, I want to say Max Schreck, but I'm pretty sure his last name isn't Schreck. I think that's from a Batman movie. But in any case, and his first name is Max. And he's a profoundly cynical character, because he's not a character. He's a reason to make things happen. He's a plot device. And the worst thing about it, he's a blatantly obvious plot device. Because let's be honest, most characters in movies are there to make things happen. That's a given, and that's understandable. But the thing is, it shouldn't be obvious that that's why a character exists. Jamie Foxx's Electro is just a reason for things to happen. He's not a character in and of itself, because he has no reason for the things he does. He makes no sense. For instance, he has this fixation with Spider-Man. Now, I get that. People have fixations with people they don't know all the time. That's literally movies. But the thing is, that fixation is not real. And unfortunately, I don't think a lot of people know that. That's why you don't often hear me say, I love Brad Pitt, or I love Angelina Jolie. I don't quite know why those two people came to mind. But in any case, I don't know them. They're people who appear on a screen. I have no idea who they are. I have no idea anything about them besides that which the press will occasionally feel the need to spoon feed me. I don't love Brad Pitt. I don't love Angelina Jolie. I have no idea who the hell they are at all. And it just bothers me when people go, I love this person, I love that person, I love this team, my team. It's like, no, it's not your team. I know I'm getting far afield here, but it's worth mentioning. You don't play for this basketball team or this football team. It is not your team. You have nothing to do with it. You're literally sitting on your ass watching these people do things for gobs of money, most of which they don't deserve. It is not your team. You do not love them. That's as pathological as this character is. Back to Spider-Man. So there's no reason for Max to dislike Spider-Man with the passion that he does. There's no reason for this character to do as he does in this movie. It doesn't make any sense. And let's look at his costume for, by the way, why does he have a costume? Electro as a being did not exist before his accident at Oscorp. Where did he get this suit from? Did he make it himself? Why did he make it himself? He can turn to electricity. He doesn't need it. Nothing makes... Oh, by the way, speaking of his costume, did you notice the side of his arm? What do you see there? It's a fucking lightning bolt. Why is it a lightning bolt? Because I'm Electro. But beyond that, why is there a lightning bolt there? It makes no sense. Okay, this suit should not be at all based on this movie. But let's, for argument's sake, say there's a containment suit made. Why? I don't know. But let's say there were. Why is there a lightning bolt on the shoulder? This is stupid production design. This is production design from people who don't know what the hell they're doing, and someone said, well, it's Electro. He should put a lightning bolt on his shoulder. That makes sense. It does not make sense. It makes literally no sense at all. And I mentioned that this movie is cynical. It's cynical in ways that are just beyond cynicism. And again, I blame it on the writers. Because I honestly think Mark Webb had very little say in this movie, despite being the director of said movie. They have a scene where this mysterious character is going down a corridor at Oscorp, and there's all these accoutrements laid out for different characters. So there's octopus arms, vulture's wings, rhino's suit. And it leads to the question, why is this stuff here? Is Oscorp trying to make a criminal enterprise of this? It's so absurdly stupid and cynical. So the thing is, the plan was to have a bunch of movies in this series, and they would have all revolved around Spider-Man's enemies, the Sinister Six. So they're laying something, all right, but there's supposed to be Easter eggs indicating that. So you would have had someone get this, check out like a fucking library for villains, check out the Electro wings. Someone will get the octopus arms. It's the most ludicrous stuff. It doesn't make any sense unless you're cynical. Unless you're trying to spell out sequels. Never mind that you don't lay the groundwork for any of this. You just want to do it. This is why, this movie is exactly why the idea of Sony controlling Spider-Man sends chills of terror down my spine. They don't get this character. They don't understand this character. And I don't know if that's fair, because I actually think they might understand this character, but they don't care about this character. They don't care about his continuity. Never mind, there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of issues of Spider-Man, which you could draw upon to build a universe. They don't care about that. That doesn't matter to them. What they want is money. And they're going to do the most cynical and silly and stupid stuff possible to get it. And I mean that seriously. The Amazing Spider-Man is the worst thing. Avi Arad, who is a producer on these movies, is the worst thing, because he doesn't care either. And I think he's the primary problem here. Sure, Roberto Ocri and Alex Kurtzman are hacks. That goes without saying. But the thing is, someone has to be pulling the strings here. And that person at Sony is Avi Arad. And that's a pity, because he's the same person behind Venom. In fact, he's the person behind everything that's happening at Sony with Spider-Man. When Tom Holland's Spider-Man goes back to Sony, there goes me paying to see those movies in theaters. I've seen Spider-Man Homecoming in theaters. I've seen Spider-Man Far From Home in theaters. Once Spider-Man is not in the MCU, I will not see those movies. And if you have any reason why, watch The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Pure dreck. Makes no sense. Cynical filmmaking par excellence. If that's something you ever wanted to be excellent about. It's just not good. But the thing is, it's not good in the worst possible way. It's not like there's a passion behind it and the passion just went a bit awry. Oh no, this is a calculated venture. Way too calculated, way too cynical. Oh, and I should mention, Sony is the studio behind The Amazing Spider-Man 2. You know how I know this? Every fucking identifiable mechanical device is a Sony one. Camera, Sony. Computer, Sony. And I don't have any issue with that in general. But my thing is, why do we need to see that? As in the name Sony. If towards the end of the movie, Spider-Man's working on a computer. It's a Sony computer. You see that name, Sony, not once, but twice. Why do you have to show this all the time? It can be a Sony computer, but don't show the name Sony. Don't put it in such relief that it's all the eye sees. I keep repeating, this movie is cynical as hell, and this is all part of it. It makes Six Underground, the Netflix movie, which is ridiculous in its product placement, seem almost restrained, because everything is Sony. From monitors to computers to cameras, it's all Sony. And they have to show you that. You have to see that there's a Sony product you can buy. You can be like Spider-Man. Get this Sony computer. Get this Sony camera. Oh, fuck off and stop it. Oh my God, it's maddening. This whole movie is maddening that people will see a Spider-Man movie produced by Sony is, for me, just, if they had seen these movies, it's just remarkable. Why would you do that? It's cynical, it's not very well done, it's badly written, it's cliched, it runs amok with Spider-Man's origin. This is just the worst thing. Though I'm glad I saw it, because it just vindicates I will not see Sony Spider-Man movies, or Spider-Verse movies for that matter, in theaters. And by the way, I should mention that I did see Into the Spider-Verse. It was okay. I think it's overrated as hell. But then again, that could be the effect of having seen really bad Sony Spider-Man movies. This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Review. Peace.